The first guy I want to talk about in round 3, potentially the only who really caught my eye, is like an Alvin Kamara, where he catches the ball. He does not stop moving. It's one smooth motion. He'll catch the ball. He's gliding. It's beautiful to watch. It's like he's skating on the field. Truly. The glaze is insane, by the way. Yes, guys, we are reacting to every single fantasy football relevant landing spot from the NFL draft. We're going to start with round 1 and day 1. We're going to go into day 2, rounds 2 and 3. And then finally, we're going to take a look at some predictions and some things that I would love to see happen and what I'm looking out for on the final day of the draft, rounds 4 through 7. So we'll start with Cam Ward. Not much to discuss here, guys. As far as QBs go, we're going to keep it pretty quick with the QBs. So Cam Ward goes to the Tennessee Titans. He will be Will Levis's backup to start the season, I think, unless there's some training camp competition there. But if I were in charge of the Titans, I would let Will Levis be Will Levis. I would let Cam Ward learn from Will Levis in a not so positive way, if you will. And then eventually late in the season, kind of like Drake May did, step in, right, and see what he's got. So for Cam Ward, the player comp for me is a Matthew Stafford, big-bodied, can be mobile, monster arm, okay? Top 3 amongst all quarterbacks in adjusted passing yards per attempt, passing efficiency rating, passing touchdowns, passing yards. Doesn't really have the monster big playability like Jackson Dart, who we'll discuss in a bit, but really just relies on being efficient, okay, and accurate. All right, so that's Cam Ward. We shall see. A nice selection for Superflex and 2 QB drafts later in your drafts as that third QB, especially in 2 QB. Once bye weeks roll around, there might be a chance he's playing. So now we'll jump into Travis Hunter, who was my wide receiver 4 coming into the draft just because wasn't sure if he was going to play wide receiver, wasn't sure if he was going to play cornerback, but Liam Cohen has come out and said that, he's going to be playing wide receiver primarily for the Jaguars. I do expect Travis Hunter, if he's on the field, for 70% of those snaps to be pretty relevant for fantasy football. In 2024, averaged over 95 yards a game and a touchdown. So he goes to the Jaguars. What does it mean for Brian Thomas? I think it's good for Brian Thomas. It means less double teams for Brian Thomas. As for Trevor Lawrence, I think it's also great, obviously. Now Trevor Lawrence has 2 true weapons. Moving straight down here, 6th overall, we have Ashton Jeanty. So this might be the pick that I am most excited about. Led all of college football last year in missed tackles forced, rush yards, rush attempts, rush touchdowns, yards after contact. This is a rare running back who gets past the line of scrimmage, okay, and then once makes contact with the defense, keeps going. His metrics were fantastic at getting past the line of scrimmage, then absorbing contact and keep going, okay? All right, his player comp is LaDainian Tomlinson. 131 rushing yards away from the all-time FBS rushing record set by none other than Barry Sanders. And he walks right into Pete Carroll's offense, who is not going to make the mistake of not handing the ball to his running back on the 1. There is no other running back really on the roster that I'm concerned with. Sincere McCormick, I'm good. Zamir White, yeah, I'm good. You guys are second, third stringers. And the Raiders are making some noise. Obviously, with Pete Carroll, they have Geno Smith now, Brock Bowers, and they made a nice wide receiver selection later who we're going to talk about. But Jeanty, as far as that I'm concerned, locked in first rounder in standard fantasy drafts. Top 2 rounds in Superflex, in my opinion, unless you get those crazy drafts where 16 quarterbacks go in the first 24 picks. He should be really at that RB5, RB6 spot as far as I'm concerned. Now, if he went to the Bears, I had an argument for him as RB3 just because it'd be Ben Johnson. But you could argue the workload in Las Vegas is actually better with no DeAndre Swift, more opportunity in Las Vegas. So I'm very excited about Ashton Jeanty, the clear 101 in Dynasty, by the way, for my Dynasty players out there. Now, 8th overall, we have Tet McMillan, the best wide receiver in the draft, to the Panthers, which is great. Bryce Young actually showed a lot of improvement at the end of last year. McMillan, back-to-back seasons in college, 1,300-plus receiving yards and 130-plus targets, so that's 10 yards a catch, okay, for back-to-back seasons. All 3 of his collegiate years, he had 15-plus yards per catch and 8-plus touchdowns. There's some off-field issues, supposedly, with Tet McMillan, but no one can argue his production. He steps right in for the Panthers here as their wide receiver 1. So next up, 10, Colston Loveland, and I'm actually just going to combine this with 14, Tyler Warren. So these were the top 2 tight ends coming into the draft. A lot of people had Warren going earlier, possibly number 7 to the Jets. Loveland went to 10 Now, a lot of people thought this might be a running back. A lot of people thought this might be Warren himself. But no, the Bears went out and got their guy, Colston Loveland. He's a massive Michigan tight end who plays the middle of the field very well. So as far as Loveland himself, and I'll also say Tyler Warren, who went to the Colts from Penn State, I'm not super excited about either of these guys for their rookie season for fantasy. But what it does to their QB, I am more excited for. So obviously we know the last 2 years, 2 years ago we had Sam Laporta, rookie tight end 1 overall, basically the first to ever do it. And then yes, we had Bowers, tight end 1 overall in his rookie season last year. So back-to-back tight end 1 overall for a rookie has a lot of people pretty excited. With that being said, I don't think either of these guys go ahead and do it. Just looking at the landscape there, it was pretty uncertain last year with an aging Kelsey, who would be the tight end 1 overall. So there's opportunity, but again, that role is really just for Bowers. In terms of the Bears in general, Caleb Williams is one quarterback who I am so excited to draft. I will be higher than consensus on Caleb Williams. You've added Loveland. It's really Ben Johnson's coming over, so he's going to utilize DJ Moore like in that Amon-Ra St. Brown role. I wish they went and got a running back, but Swift is good, and they have other guys, Roshan Johnson, for example. So they have a good running back room, and this addition of Loveland just makes Caleb that much more intriguing to me. As for Tyler Warren, as I mentioned before, whoever the QB is, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, you're just getting a reliable target who can honestly take the ball to the house for you. High variability player, will soak up targets, and as I said, big play threat as well. So good for the QB there, just adding weapons to these offenses that need them. Now, 19th overall, Emeka Egbuka. So he was actually for a while, as I mentioned before, just because I wasn't sure what position Hunter would play, my number 2 wide receiver in the class. So amongst Ohio State wide receivers, those with 2 1,000-plus yard seasons, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and you have Emeka Egbuka. So arguably one of the best Ohio State receivers of all time. He is the OSU record holder for receiving yards and receptions. And his player comparison is Adonai Mitchell. And again, I had the Justin Jefferson comparison for Travis Hunter, which might have been a reach, right? And this one, I actually think Egbuka is a better player than Mitchell, but I see elements of his game where a very smooth route runner will get the ball and then the twitch begins. And then he can take it to the house, right? And get those yards after the catch. So another comp, honestly, would be Chris Godwin, who he now is on the same team as. So they have Godwin, Mike Evans, Egbuka, and McMillan. So I think the odd man out will be McMillan. All right, next up, 22 overall, Omarion Hampton. I'm very excited about the running backs in this draft, Genty and then Hampton to the Chargers. So Hampton basically won the combine, 9.93 RAS score out of 10. That is 14th best out of just about 2,000 running backs in the last 40 years. By the way, RAS is a metric. Search it up online, the RAS metric. It is basically just an athletic metric, okay? Now, when we look at Hampton's production at North Carolina, in the last 25 games, 3,100 plus rush yards, 30 plus rush TDs. He is a 3-down prospect. He's a good pass catcher, great pure rusher, and a capable blocker. And like I said, he's a workhorse. The player comp is simply Joe Mixon, a good mentor for Hampton to learn from, because Najee back in the day was a workhorse. There was a time not too long ago where he was a first-round pick as a rookie and paid off. Hampton goes to arguably the most run-heavy offense in the league with a good quarterback that will score touchdowns. So if he takes this role, he has a top 10, top 12 ceiling in his rookie year as a running back. Very exciting. Next up, Matthew Golden goes to the Packers. So 13.5 yard average depth of target, 61% contested catch rate, 2.1 yards per route run, 6.5% drop rate. And he had career highs last year at Texas in receiving yards, catches, and touchdowns. If they lean into Golden as the wide receiver 1, if they develop him in that role, which honestly, I don't think they will, just because we've seen guys, right, in the past where they don't give them that leash to do that. But if that happens, he could have a nice wide receiver 2 season as a ceiling, I think, here in year 1. All right, next up real quick, Jackson Dart at Ole Miss last year, top 10 amongst QBs, pass completion percentage, pass touchdowns, pass yards. He is better than Ward and Sanders in the average depth of target, big time throw rate, yards per attempt, and I just get the Dak Prescott comparison from him, where he's not afraid to throw a pick, for better or for worse. He has strength. He can shed off some of those tackles. He's slightly mobile, right? He can move, big-bodied guy. And if he's going to learn under Russell Wilson, I really do like that for the Giants, okay? Now, jumping into round 2, We're starting with 34th overall, Jaden Higgins to the Texans. He is a monster receiver. The player comp is Drake London. The past 2 seasons, he's averaged over 1,000 receiving yards, 70 catches, and 7.5 touchdowns. He's a target earner, okay, amongst all wide receivers last year. 5th in targets, 6th in catches. Red zone monster, 9 touchdowns last year. Like I said, Drake London, big-bodied guy, goes up and gets touchdowns. A guy I'm really excited to talk about here, the 3rd running back off the board, 36th overall, Quinshon Judkins to the Browns. First running back, over 220 pounds in the last 20 years with a sub 4.5 40-yard dash and a monster broad jump to go with it. He goes to the Browns, and stop me if you've heard this before, but monster talented player who goes to the Browns, and then we'll see. I'm hoping, right, that the Browns are making a turn for the better organizationally, and Judkins actually has a chance to flourish. The running back room there is not great at the moment, so if Judkins gets to work, he's going to be a monster. Now, speaking of Henderson, Trevion Henderson, 38th overall to the Patriots. As a 19-year-old freshman, okay? Over 1,250 rush yards and 19 touchdowns. His ball security is elite. He has 667 total touches, 0 fumbles. And in this class, he's the only running back to reach 1,000 rush yards last year with 200-plus receiving yards, with 7+ yards per carry. It's going to be interesting. You're going to have a lot of people who are in your home leagues who are not hip to what type of player this is, and we'll just go ahead and draft the Ramondre Stevenson. I think the smarter move is to pass on Ramondre and, round 9 or 10, 8 in your home drafts for redraft, grab Henderson and wait. The pick after, 39th overall, Luther Burden, the 3rd out of Missouri. A top 5 receiver for me coming into the draft. His sophomore campaign was his career best. He had 724 yards after the catch, over 1,200 receiving yards, 86 catches on 120 targets for 9 touchdowns. Last year, he had 30 missed tackles, led all of college football. The player comparison for me is Jahan Dotson, but honestly, I think he has more straight line speed and burst than Dotson. Now, in terms of the landing spot for Burden himself, you have Rome Odunze, you have DJ Moore, you have Loveland now. Again, I don't know. If I had to put my money on the best receiver in that group, it'd be DJ Moore, okay, for fantasy football. I don't think Luther has the best fantasy football season amongst all of those guys, but what it means, once again, Caleb Williams, top 10 QB for me in 2025. We'll keep moving down here. Not much else to talk about, honestly, in round 2. There's a couple names I want to mention real quick. Trey Harris goes to the Chargers from Ole Miss. Amongst all wide receivers last year, he was in yards per route run versus zone, 2nd overall, yards per route run versus man, 1st. So with stats like that, I kind of think of QJ, the current wide receiver, Quentin Johnson for the Chargers, and I'm just like, Trey Harris is better, okay? In only 8 games played last year, 1,000 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, obviously, QJ coming out of college was a monster for TCU. If Trey Harris just does what he did in college, he will be better and play that 2nd role, which we've seen, right? Next to Lad McConkey, who's a slot guy. We've seen there be opportunity for QJ, for Josh Palmer, for players like that in this Chargers offense. So this is a really exciting landing spot for me. He will be a very nice rookie stash. My player comp is Brian Thomas, just with the big plays, the ability to separate. I'm excited for Trey Harris. Now, I mentioned before, the Raiders got Jack Besh at wide receiver. Between the Senior Bowl and the Combine, he might have been the best wide receiver. He really boosted his draft stock. In 2024, he had career highs, receiving yards per game, 86.2, receiving yards total, over 1,000, and 9 receiving touchdowns. He's a tight end turned wideout, okay? 6'1", 214. And again, I have that comp again of Cedric Tillman. I've used it a couple times in this video, but it's true. So this is a guy who can step in and be the wide receiver 1, take that job from Jacoby Myers, or just work alongside him, which is great. Now, the one that everyone is talking about here in round 2, 60th overall, RJ Harvey to the Broncos. Okay, rushing yards, he had over 1,500. That's 5th most in college. 25 touchdowns is 3rd most. He has 3 straight seasons in college of 200-plus receiving yards, 220 rush attempts, and 6.3 yards per carry. The playstyle comp is an Elijah Mitchell, just an absolute workhorse, a guy you can hand the ball to however many times you want per game, throw him however many passes you want per game. Okay, he'll pick up positive yards, he'll catch the ball, he'll produce for you. The one downside, okay, is that he's 24 years old. So here we have 20-year-old RBs. They're drafted at age 20. They break out almost 50% of the time, which is huge. Next closest, about 25% of the time, 21-year-old RBs, 10% 22-year-olds, just under 10% 23, and then under 5% breakout rate for 24-year-old running backs. Let's continue. In terms of opportunity, how does draft age impact early opportunity? As you can see, total EP, 20-year-olds have the most in their first 2 seasons. And 24-year-olds have almost 5 times less in their first 2 seasons. Now, let's keep moving. In terms of efficiency, how does draft age impact early efficiency? So, total FPOE in their first 2 seasons, age 20 running backs and age 21 running backs are the only 2, and there's a rare age 26 running back with positive FPOE, which is just an efficiency metric. Ages 22, 23, and 24-year-old RBs do not score well, and this is just historical data, okay? This does not mean that RJ Harvey won't be a monster. I'd argue the Broncos are the number 1 landing spot. So looking at round 3, we'll just go down the list here. The first guy I want to talk about in round 3, potentially the only really who really caught my eye, is Caleb Johnson at 83rd overall to the Steelers, who need a workhorse RB. They literally only have Jaylen Warren on the roster. Caleb Johnson, if we're speaking about Alvin Kamara, okay, that's the comp I have for him. My true comp was a Trey Benson in college. Caleb Johnson is much better than him. But the way he moves, Caleb Johnson, okay, is like an Alvin Kamara where he catches the ball. He does not stop moving. There's some RBs, they run the route, they catch the ball, they stop, they think no, it's one smooth motion. He'll catch the ball, he's gliding. It's beautiful to watch. It's like he's skating on the field, truly. The glaze is insane, by the way. But 2024, he only played 12 games, 1,700 plus total yards, and 23 touchdowns total in 12 games. For the advanced stats, 861 breakaway yards were second most amongst all RBs. Over 1,000 yards after contact, that's top 5. 56.1% breakaway percentage in 2024 was higher than Ashton Genty. So you could argue at 83rd overall that this was the steal of the draft for the Steelers. I mean, this is a guy who's going to come right in, challenge for the number 1 RB role for the Steelers. So Caleb Johnson, 3-down back capability. Very excited about that pick. And I think that's going to do it for the first 3 rounds of the draft. Now, guys, real quick, one thing I want to mention is our new joint account here. We're making some upgrades to NOEXPERT Fantasy Football. It's no longer just me. I made a hire, potentially 2, okay? Some of my boys are helping me out with the brand. We have a brand new account at NOEXPERTFF. You'll see it right here below, right here below my face cam. Obviously, I have my account as well, Joe Rico FF on X. But I want to encourage you guys, okay? There is a 50% off discount to join the Discord. The Discord is where we craft custom draft strategies with our subscribers all off-season. Any questions you have, okay, you bring them to me, you bring them to my team in the Discord. They are answered every single day, guaranteed. It's the only place in fantasy football, in the fantasy football land, where you get real answers specific to you and your team and your league and your draft every day, guaranteed. The benefits continue into the season with the same type of stuff, trades, waivers, okay? All that, updated rankings, players trending up, players trending down. And again, answers to your questions. In the Discord as well, we post our draft rankings. We post additional draft strategies. We have a 50% discount right now in the bio. Again, go to our profile, drop a follow, and hit the link in our bio. 50% off here, and you guys can join the Discord, okay? Check us out on Twitch. Check us out on Spotify. Some of you are already listening on Spotify. If you're not, check us out on YouTube. And that will do it, guys, for the video today. God, we're back.